Today we are discussing on chapter 7. The title of this chapter is Functional Theorems for Bounded Linear Functionals. What is a functional? Functional is a mapping or a transformation or an operator which have a domain, but its range lies in the reals or in the complex plane. Initially, functional analysis was the analysis of functionals. Functionals are operators whose definitions, properties are very similar to those operators which have already been discussed. Though we shall discuss on functionals, it has some interesting properties. So, functional, what we mean to say linear functional? Suppose x is a domain space and y is a range space, where x and y are both linear spaces. Suppose f is a mapping from x to y such that f of x plus y is equal to f x plus f y for all x belonging to capital X and for all y belongs to capital X, and f of alpha x is equal to alpha into f x for all alpha belonging to the scalar field capital F and for all x belonging to capital X. Today we shall discuss on functionals, rather linear functionals on nonlinear spaces with some properties regarding the linearity and its boundedness. And also we have a motto to have an extension of those linear functionals which are acting on some subspaces. So, with this we now start in details of the module 1 of this chapter 7. Today we shall discuss on module 1 of this chapter 7. The title of the module is linear functional. So, before discussing in detail, we have a definition. Let capital X be a linear space over a field of scalars capital F, and let capital Y is equal to f of R or C. R means the set of all reals and C means set of all complex numbers. Then T is a mapping from X to Y defined by T of x plus y is equal to T x plus T y for all x y belonging to capital X. This property is known as additive property. And number 2, T of alpha x is equal to alpha T x for all x belonging to capital X and for all alpha belonging to capital F. This property is called homogeneity property of T. We call then T a linear functional on X. We denote generally the linear functionals by small letter f, g, h and so on. Thus, all the properties for linear operations also hold for linear functionals. The zero functional on X is denoted by big theta, that is big theta x is equal to 0 element of scalar field. Let capital X be a nonlinear space over R. Already we know that a functional is an operator whose linearity property and boundedness property are same as that of the bounded linear operators. So, f is said to be bounded, that is a linear functional is said to be bounded if there exists a constant capital M such that mod of f x is less or equals to m into norm of x, where m is some constant which is positive. So, it follows by the definitions as defined in the case of bounded linear operators. So, we get norm of f is equal to sup of mod of f x, where supremum is taken over norm of x less or equals to 1, that is supremum is taken over the closed unit ball. And number 2, norm of f is can also be defined sup of mod of f x, where supremum is taken with norm of x is equal to 1. And number 3, norm of f is equal to sup of mod of f x by norm of x, provided x not equal to theta and norm of x is not equal to 0. And then we write modulus of f x is less or equals to norm of f into norm of x for all x belonging to capital X. Now, we have an observation. What is this? Let capital X be a nonlinear space over a field F is equal to space of all reals and let f be a linear functional on x. We know that f is a linear functional when f of x plus y is equal to f x plus f y for all x y belongs to capital X, and f of alpha x is equal to alpha into f x for all x belonging to capital X and for all alpha belongs to f, that is the field of scalars. So, an additive functional on x is continuous at all points of x if it is continuous at some point of x. Also, we can say that an additive functional on x is continuous at all points of x if it is continuous at 0 vector of x, because 0 vector, that is the null vector of x, is an element of capital X. An additive continuous functional f on x is homogeneous. An additive functional f on x is continuous if and only if it is bounded. We know that in the case of the linear operators, that is the bounded linear operators, a operator is continuous if and only if it is bounded, provided operator is linear. As for example, suppose x is equal to r and y is equal to r, and we take f x is equal to 2x, then f is a linear functional. And if we take f x is equal to x square, it is not a non-linear functional. Now, let us take a theorem. Let capital X be a nonlinear space over a field f, and let f is a mapping from x to capital F, where f is the field of scalars, be a linear functional on x, then f is continuous if and only if car of f is closed in capital X. Let us have a proof. Suppose f is continuous. Now, we know that car of f means collection of all elements x in x such that f x is equal to 0 and is equal to f inverse 0 is equal to a closed set in x. Because f is continuous, inverse image of a closed set is again a closed set, and singleton element 0 is an element of f, and it is a T2 space, and as well as it is a T1 space. We know that in a T1 space every singleton set is closed. So, that is why f inverse singleton 0 is a closed set in capital X. Again, let car f is closed in X, that is kernel of f is closed in X. Let f be a 0 functional on x, that is f x is equal to 0 for all x belonging to capital X. So, f is continuous in this case. Let f be a non-zero functional. So, x minus car f is a non-empty and open set in X, because we have assumed that car f is closed in X, and complement of car f, that is x minus car f, is an open set. Let a belongs to x minus car f. So, f of a is not is equal to 0. Let us take b equal to 1 by f a into a. So, f of b is equal to 1, and so b belongs to x minus car of f. As x minus car of f is open, there exists a r greater than 0 such that the open ball centered at b with radius r is within x minus car f, because x minus car f is open. So, the neighborhood of b is within x minus car f, an open set, and all the points are interior points of x minus car f, and b is an interior point. So, let capital V is equal to x belonging to capital X such that modulus of f x is strictly less than 1. We shall now prove that the open ball centered at 0 vector with radius r is within V, where theta is the 0 vector of x. Let x belongs to b r theta, that is the open ball centered at 0 vector with radius r. If possible, let x does not belongs to capital V. So, by the construction of V, we get modulus of f x is greater or equals to 1. Let us take y is equal to minus 1 by modulus of f x into x. So, by easy calculation, we see that f of y is equal to minus 1. Now, norm of y is equal to 1 by modulus of f x into norm of x, which is again less or equals to norm of x and is less than r. So, y belongs to b r theta, Now, let us calculate norm of b plus y minus b, that is equal to norm of y, which is less than r. So, b plus y belongs to BRB, because norm of b plus y minus b is strictly less than r. That means, b plus y is within the open ball centered at B with radius r. Again, f of b plus y is equal to fb plus fy. Due to this, that f is linear, but f of b is equal to 1 and f of y is equal to minus 1 and is equal to 0. So, b plus y belonging to car f. So, b plus y belongs to car f intersection BRB, because b plus y belongs to BRB has already been shown, and it is a contradiction to the fact that BRB is a subset of x minus car f. So, BR theta is a subset of V, what we wanted to prove it. Let us take x is a non-zero element such that x belonging to BR theta. So, norm of x is strictly less than r. Now, norm of 1 by 2 into norm of x into r into x is equal to r by 2, and which is again less than r, because r by 2 is less than r. So, Rx by 2 into norm of x belonging to BR theta, which lies entirely in V, and hence modulus of f of Rx by 2 into norm of x is strictly less than 1. So, by linearity of f, we get r by modulus of r by 2 into norm of x into fx is strictly less than 1, which implies that r by 2 into norm of x into mod of fx is less than 1. That implies modulus of fx is strictly less than 2 by r into norm of x. So, this implies that f is bounded, but we know that if f is a linear and f is bounded, then f is continuous. Let us take an example. Let Rn be the real valued linear space with usual norm, and let alpha is equal to alpha 1, alpha 2 dot 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 alpha n be a fixed non-zero vector in Rn. Define a mapping f Rn to R by fx is equal to x into A, where x is equal to xi1, xi2 dot dot xin belonging to Rn, and x into A denotes the usual scalar product of x and A. Then it is easy to verify that f is a bounded linear functional on Rn, and norm of f is equal to norm of A. So, the solution looks like this, that f is a linear functional, or you have assumed that f of x is equal to x into A. By easy calculation, we see that f is linear. Also, it is bounded, since by the virtue of Cauchy-Schwarz inequality, modulus of fx is equal to mod of x into A less or equals to norm x into norm of A for all x belongs to Rn. This Cauchy-Schwarz inequality will be studied in detail in another chapter. Furthermore, we have norm of f is equal to sup of modulus of fx, x belongs to capital X, where norm of x less or equals to 1. That is, norm of f is equal to supremum is taken of all such values having modulus of fx, where x belongs to capital X with norm of x is less or equals to 1, and this supremum is always less or equals to norm of A. But norm of f is get out equals to modulus of fa by norm of A by the definition of norm of f, and it is equal to norm of A square divided by norm of A, and by cancellation denominator and numerator is equal to norm of A. Hence, norm of f is equal to norm of A. Let us take another example. Let x is equal to CAB, which is equal to space of all real valued continuous functions over the closed interval a comma b with the norm, that is the sup norm, and is defined by norm of x is equal to sup of modulus of xt, where t is taken in the closed interval a to b. Define a function f from x to r by fx is equal to integration a to b xt dt, x belonging to capital X and t belongs to closed interval a comma b. Then f is a bounded linear functional with norm of f is equal to b minus a. The solution is given below. It can be easily verified that f is linear by the construction of the function f(x) is equal to integration a to b x t dt. Now, for the boundedness, let us take a calculation. Modulus of f(x) is equal to mod integration a to b x t dt, which is less or equals to sup of modulus of x t into b minus a, which is again less or equals to norm of x into b minus a. This implies f is bounded, and hence norm of f is less or equals to b minus a. On the other hand, if x is equal to x naught, where x naught t is equal to 1 for all t belongs to closed interval a comma b, then norm x naught is equal to 1 and modulus of f x naught is equal to modulus of integration a to b dt, which is again equal to b minus a. And so, norm of f is get out equals to modulus of f x naught divided by norm of x naught and is equal to b minus a. Hence, norm of f is equal to b minus a. Now, let us take an example for unbounded linear functional. Right now, we have discussed on bounded linear functional. Now, we shall have an example which is an unbounded linear functional. Let us take x is equal to L infinity with the norm defined by norm of x is equal to sup of modulus of xi and supremum is taken over I means is equal to I equal to 1, 2 and up to so on. And L infinity is the space of all bounded sequences of scalars. Let us take x is equal to xi 1, xi 2 dot dot xi n is an element of L infinity where xi i's are scalars. Define a function f x to r by f(x) is equal to sigma I equal to 1 to infinity xi I, where x is equal to xi 1, xi 2 dot dot xi n belongs to L infinity. Then it is easy to verify that f is a unbounded linear functional. Now, solution looks like this. Clearly, f is linear. Choose the sequence xn which is an element of L infinity, where xn is equal to sigma I equal to 1 to n ei, where ei is equal to 0, 0, 0, 1, 0 dot dot, where 1 is taken in the ith place and I equal to 1, 2 and so on. For each natural number n, note that norm of xn is equal to norm of sigma I equal to 1 to n ei, and which is equal to 1 by calculation, and f(xn) is equal to n. Thus, we see that for each natural number n, modulus of f(xn) is equal to n into norm of xn, because f(xn) is equal to n and norm of xn is equal to 1. So, it follows that norm of f is equal to infinity if we let as n tends to infinity, and hence f is an unbounded linear functional on L infinity. So, let us take a theorem. Let x be a non-linear space and let f be a linear functional on x, then the set kernel of f is either dense or closed in x. So, we first state and prove a lemma. The statement of the lemma is given below. Let f be a non-zero linear functional on a linear space capital X and let x0 belonging to x minus car f. Then any x belonging to capital X can be expressed uniquely in the form x equal to y plus alpha x naught, where y is taken in the set kernel of f and alpha is some scalar. The proof is given below. Since x naught belongs to x minus car f, f(x) naught equal to 0, and let alpha is equal to f(x) by f(x) naught whenever x belongs to capital X. Take y is equal to x minus f(x) by f(x) naught into x naught. Then x is equal to y plus alpha x naught. Clearly, fy is equal to 0. So, y belongs to kernel of f. For uniqueness, let us take x is equal to y plus alpha x naught and x equal to y dash plus alpha dash x naught for some y dash belongs to kernel of f and some scalar alpha dash. If alpha equal to alpha dash, then we get y equal to y dash. If alpha not equal to alpha dash, then x naught is equal to y dash minus y divided by alpha minus alpha dash, which is again an element of kernel of f, a contradiction to our assumption that x naught belongs to x minus car f. This completes the proof of the lemma. We have started with a theorem, that is, if x be a nonlinear space and f be a linear functional on x, then kernel of f is either dense or closed in x. Now, we shall go on the proof of this main theorem. From this result, we can also conclude that if f is a linear functional on a nonlinear space x, and then f is bounded or continuous if and only if car f is not dense in x. Now, let us prove in detail of our main theorem. Now, we shall go on the proof of the main theorem. The statement of the main theorem was that x be a nonlinear space and f is a linear functional on x, then car f is either dense or closed in x. Let us suppose that car f is not closed. So, we have to prove that kernel of f is dense in capital X. Then there exists a point x naught which does not belongs to car f such that x 0 is a limit point of car f. Since kernel of f is a subspace of capital X, it follows that kernel of f bar is also a subspace of X. We know that if M is a subspace of X, then its closure, that is M bar, is again a subspace of capital X. Therefore, closure of car f contains the linear span of x naught and car f. Using the above lemma, we get X is a subset of closure of car f, and hence closure of car f is equal to X. That means car f is dense in capital X. So, from this theorem we have a corollary. Let X be a nonlinear space and let f be a linear functional on X, then f is bounded or f is continuous even only if car f is not dense in capital X. So, let us take a definition. Let X be a linear space over a field capital K and let M be a subspace of capital X. Let f is a mapping from M to capital K, K is the field of scalars, be a function, then capital F is a mapping from capital X to K is said to be an extension of small f if fx is equal to capital Fx for all x belongs to capital M, and also we say that f is said to be a restriction of f on f, and we denote it Fm is equal to f is acting on x by M. Also, we have learned the extension of a bounded linear operators. Let X be a linear space over a field F is equal to R, that is the space of reals, and let P is a mapping from X to R be a functional. Then P is said to be a convex functional if the following properties holds. That means, number 1, P of x is greater or equals to 0 for all x belongs to capital X. Number 2, P of x plus y is less or equals to Px plus Py for all x y belongs to capital X. And number 3, P of alpha x is equal to alpha Px for all x belongs to capital X and for all alpha greater or equals to 0. If last two properties, that is 2 and 3, are satisfied for P, then P is said to be a sublinear functional on capital X. Let us take a lemma. Let capital M be a proper subspace of a linear space capital X over the field of reals R, and let x naught belongs to x by M, and let n is equal to third bracket M union second bracket x naught. That means n is a subspace generated by M and x naught. Suppose that f is a linear functional on M such that fx less or equals to Px, where P is a sublinear functional. Then f can be extended to a linear functional capital F, which is a mapping from N to R such that capital Fx is less or equals to Px for all x belongs to capital N. The proof looks like this. Let y1 and y2 be any
two elements in capital M. So, y1 minus y2 belongs to capital M, because M is a subspace. So, f of y1 minus y2 less or equals to p y1 minus y2, because we have assumed that small of fx is less or equals to px for all x belongs to M. By the property of the linearity of f, we get f of y1 minus f of y2 is less or equals to p of y1 plus x naught minus y2 minus x naught for some adjustment, and which is again less or equals to p of y1 plus x naught plus p of minus y2 minus x naught by the property of sublinear functional, which is again implies minus p of minus y2 minus x naught minus f of y2, which is less or equals to p of y1 plus x naught minus f of y1. Keeping y1 fixed and y2 is allowed to vary on M, we see that the set of all elements such that minus p of minus y2 minus x naught minus f of y2 has an upper bound and hence has a least upper bound. Let us take A is equal to supremum of the collection of all elements minus p of minus y2 minus x naught, and supremum is taken over such elements y2 in M. Similarly, letting y2 fixed and y1 is allowed to vary on M, we get B equal to infimum of the collection of all elements p of y1 plus x naught minus f of y1, and infimum is taken over all elements y1 taken in M. So, A less or equals to B. Hence, there exists a real number C naught such that A is less or equals to C naught less or equals to B. As x0 does not belongs to capital M, then x belonging to capital N is represented as x is equal to y plus alpha x naught, where y belongs to capital M is uniquely determined element and alpha is uniquely determined real scalar. Consider a function f which is a mapping from capital N to R by fx is equal to f of y plus alpha c naught, where x is equal to y plus alpha x naught. So, capital F is a linear functional on N. Now, f of y is equal to f of y for all y belongs to capital M. So, f is an extension of small f. Now, there are cases. Case 1, if alpha is equal to 0, x equal to y, which is an element of capital M. So, therefore, fx is equal to f of y is equal to small f y is less or equals to p y is equal to p of x, because x is equal to y is assumed. And for the case 2, let alpha greater than 0. We have C0 is less or equals to b less or equals to p of y plus x naught minus f of y by the above discussion. For all y belongs to M, replace y by alpha. We have C naught is less or equals to p of y by alpha plus x naught minus f of y by alpha, which is again less or equals to p of y plus alpha x naught by alpha minus f of y by alpha. So, this implies alpha C naught less or equals to p of y plus alpha x naught minus f y by cross multiplication, and which is again implies that alpha C naught plus f y is less or equals to p of y plus alpha x naught. This implies capital Fx is less or equals to Px for all x belonging to capital N. And for case 3, let us take alpha less than 0 and a less or equals to C0, which implies that minus p of minus y minus x naught minus f of y less or equals to C naught for all y belongs to capital M, which again implies that p of minus y minus x naught plus f of y is greater or equals to minus C naught. Replacing y by alpha, we get p of minus y by alpha minus x naught plus f of y by alpha is greater or equals to minus C naught, which again implies that minus alpha into p of minus y by alpha minus x naught plus minus of alpha f of y by alpha, which is greater or equals to alpha C naught, since minus alpha is greater than 0, which implies that p of y plus alpha x naught plus f of minus y greater or equals to alpha C naught, which implies that p of y plus alpha x naught greater or equals to alpha C naught plus f y, and hence p of x greater or equals to f x for all x belongs to capital N. This proves the lemma.
In this module, we have learned an extension of a linear functional over a linear space. Suppose f is a linear functional on a subspace f of a linear space X, then f can be extended to a linear functional capital F on all over X. With this, we come to an end of this module 1 of this chapter 7.